see anybody.
Yeah.
I said, at my age, I'm glad to see anybody.
Be good health till 120.
Why short me? Why short me? If I'm in good health, I'll take it.
As Hashem should be in good health.
Trying to make a living. Today's not a good day, so I thought I'd go to shit.
Trying to sign on. Oh, okay. I'm trying to sign on here because they asked me to do it, but in the meantime, we're using the settings. Let me see if I can do this from my phone. Hold on. It might be let's see if I can do it.
Recording in progress.
Should I try it again?
Recording in
It
progress.
says I'm on. Let's do it one more time. Yes, let it in one more time. And now people.
Recording
Oh, I
in
see.
progress.
Okay.
Thanks. Oh, it's on your camera.
I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna turn it off. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Do you hear me, Heaven?
Yeah, we're good, Rebbe.
Good. Say that.
Yeah,
Okay. First, I want to thank the Parnas HaChodesh. Sue and Rob Weinberg and children Josh and Alyssa are sponsoring the month Le'ili Nishma Su's father Naftali Ben Tzvi. As Neshama shall have an Aliyah and whole family shall bring Simcha, Nachas, and Bracha. Also, I want to thank one of the Chaver who is sponsoring Le'ili Nishmas Esther Tova Bas Eliezer Ben Yamin HaKohen and Neshama shall have an Aliyah and the family shall bring Simcha, Nachas. And always thanking the Chaverim at Meridian for all of the years of sponsoring. So we just started the Torah Simcha of Aleph Meshiv Nafshi with the parish of Meshiv Nafshi. It's on page Samach Daled. Page Samach Daled. We're talking about talking. Diburim Kedoshim. Diburim Kedoshim doesn't only mean Tashem. Diburim Kedoshim means with each other, with a friend, with a teacher, the parent, the child. So we had just started this last time 2 weeks ago. So let's start again. Let's go back in. Simcha Chafal, page Samach Daled. Eitzel is Chaskus Hadibur. The most powerful Eitzel when it comes to his Chaskus is Dibur, is speaking. Dainu Shafilu Nafal Mokim Shenafal. That regardless of what a person has fallen into, this is a very, very major theme in Rabbi Nachman's teachings, that wherever you are at that point in life, the ikar is to speak words that are honest. Dibur emes. It would be many, many years after Rabbi Nachman that there would even be a concept of therapy, of people talking about what's on their minds and their hearts to somebody who's trained to that, or people sitting around and having group therapy or having an honest conversation. I mean, people are always talking to each other if they felt like it, but it was never understood. It was never seen to have such powerful therapeutic and religious value. Of course, to go to a tzaddik, to speak to a tzaddik, to speak to a navi when they were neviim, but the koach of diburi emes. So Rabbi Nachman took this to another level. Tainu diburi Torah utfila, of course, words of learning, words of davening, v'yas shamayim v'lasur bein levein kana, and to speak words that are honest, in your own words, to speak to Kadosh Baruch Hu, v'lasuach im chaveiro, and to speak to a good friend, to talk to a good friend. A tremendous koach in people talking to each other. The kol shekenim rabba, to speak to a teacher, to a rabbi. K'adibur yesh l'kol godel haskir ha'adam b'Hashem yisbarach l'chazkel tamid. You all know, I'm not going to go into this right now because we've discussed this many times in the past. But the whole golus of Mitzrayim was a golus of dibur, and therefore when golus begins, when we open up Sefer Shmos, nobody's talking to each other. No one's talking. People are they're krechsing, they're crying, they're screaming. No one's talking. I don't find anybody talking. And the one who's supposed to take us out can't talk. He says, I can't talk. The etzem of golus is the inability to speak, to communicate. The etzem of golus. And therefore everybody knows that Pesach is Pesach, the mouth can speak. Klamar b'lesaper, Arizah Meshubach, speaking, talking. The union of the night of Pesach, of Yitzias Mitzrayim, is being able to communicate. Paro is ha'orev. Paro is the war against open communication and speech. It's Paro, ha'orev, the neck, the back of, not to be able to speak, not to be able to talk. That's golus. Golus is golus adibur. So Moshe says, I can't communicate this to the Jews. How will Paro listen to me? So no one's talking, no one's listening. That's how golus. That's how Sefer Shmos begins. We don't even have anybody calling each other by a name. It's Vayelech Ish Beis Levi, V'ikachas Bas Levi. There's no names. There's nothing. It's just numbers. And I mean, of course, the beginning has the names of the Shvatim, but then in Golus Mitzrayim itself, there are no names. There's no talking. When you speak to somebody, when you communicate to somebody, you call the person by his name, by her name. Not hey you. You talk to the person. So the whole golus is a golus of dibur. Kadibur yesh l'koach gadol haskir ha'adam b'Hashem yisbarach l'chazkel tamid. Because dibur is a very powerful way of remembering Hashem, speaking to Hashem, speaking about Hashem, speaking to somebody else about Hashem, talking to another person about your inyan that you have with Hashem. It's very powerful. Even when if you're in a place that you're very, very far, you feel very far from Hashem, but talking about Him. Since Dibur is Malchus, the lowest of the spheres is Malchus, is Dibur. Var Hashem Shultan means that a person, when you're speaking, you're activating the most basic part of what it means to be a human being, which is the Koach HaDibur, because that's a human being. V'yipach ba'apav nishmas chayim, v'yodem nefesh chayim. Everybody knows that when Hashem breathed into man his soul, the Targum translates, Ruach Mamala, a speaking soul. Man is defined by the ability to speak, to communicate. It's what's most human about a human being is the ability to talk. Animals, plants, inanimate things can't do such a thing. What defines a human being is called a medaber. Therefore, it reaches even the furthest point of what a human being is. So no matter how far away a person is, the Koach HaDibur goes with him wherever he is, because that's the ikr of what a human being is a speaking being. Those things that are not the ikr of who you are don't necessarily travel with you. So you can't take your house with you. You could forget your shoes at home. But Dibur, the Koach HaDibur, your words, that's some of who you are. Ein Dibur, I see you test, V'zul Shana Shah. Gam HaDibur hu b'chinas eim habanim. That's what Rabbi Nachman says. In the Sefer Amidas, you test, Rabbi Nachman says, the Dibur is called the mother of the children. Eim habanim. Dibur is called the mother. Hainu kamoisha ha'eim holeches tamid in baneha. The same way that a mother will always go together with her children. Afilu mekaymis hamutanafim. Even to the most disgusting, horrible places. If a child, Chalila, has to go somewhere, the child is in some situation, the mother will be with the child. I was just noticing this in such a clear way. Baruch Hashem, I was in the street in Yerushalayim, my daughter and my grandchildren, and her children, Shifi and her kids, and we were walking at night in the street in Yerushalayim, and the two older ones were running away up ahead and playing and doing all kinds of things that kids like to do. And the little one, her name is Tamar. So the little one wanted to also be like a big girl. She wanted to run away with her sister and brother and to have a good time. But then she felt, I was keeping an eye on them, and Shifi was a little bit behind. But suddenly little Tamar felt that she might have gotten away from her mother. Like she might have pulled away. And she had this horrible, terrified look in her eyes, turning on, because there were some other people that were coming. She got scared, I guess. And she had this terrible look in her eyes. And Shifi said, I'm here. And then everything's beside her. That's just how it is. The mother and the children. And that's Kamosha Ha'im Haleches Tamid in Banel. I feel wherever the child goes, the mother will be with the child, even to the worst places. And the mother is not capable. The mother will not forget her children. So too, speech, dibur, is with a person always. Even to disgusting places. Your speech is with you, your ability to talk about what you're going through, what you're in. It stays with you. And therefore, by speaking words, even if you're in a horrible situation, by speaking words about Hashem and to Hashem, you will realize that He's there with you. If you remain silent, it's very easy to slip away. But if your words stay with you, they're there. You have to force yourself. You have to find words. And if you push yourself, you'll find words in the place that you're in, and that time that you're going through, to begin to talk, to begin to daven. Therefore, in Mitzrayim, when we discovered our words, when we rediscovered our words, and when we began to talk to Moshe Rabbeinu, to each other, to daven, suddenly we remembered who we were, and that's the end of Golus. That's when Golus ends. And through one's words, a person can always, no matter what he's going through, no matter what you're in, you could always remember Hashem. Even if a person's chas v'shalom in a very, very low place. Low madrega. B'makom shuchad, okay, doesn't mean a physical, it means you're in a low place. Nevertheless, by speaking. You could always find a way back to Hashem. If you talk about it, discuss it. Discuss it with Hashem. His Bodhis, talk to a good friend about it. No matter what situation you're in, if you can be mischazik to at least speak words that are holy. In that matzah that you're in, words of Torah, words of tefillah, v'sicha, and conversation, ben levein kona, between you and Hashem, esbodidus, alasochem rabo, to speak to your teacher, your rebbe, or chaveru, your friend, b'yoshamayim, talk about Yoshamayim, talk about Yiddishkeit, talk about what you're going through. We were never, ever taught such a thing growing up by anybody. It was never part of anything I ever heard in any class or shiur. Something you keep to yourself. You don't talk about these things. Just try, if I would imagine like being in 10th grade and saying to my Rebbe, 11th grade saying to my Rebbe, I'm really not feeling so connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I'm not really feeling like keeping mitzvahs anymore. Just I imagine such a conversation, and I don't see it going well. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would have been a pleasant surprise, but I don't think so. I don't think it would have gone well. I think at best it would have been, could you just put your finger on the Gemara, and continue. I don't even know how to. I never would have thought of having such a conversation. To even talk about it, we never had it in class. There was never ever any conversation about the Baruch Shalom. We just had one Rebbe. It was actually my 10th grade Rebbe. One Rebbe that was a Stalin Chassid. That's how they can. And with him, there were conversations about Yiddishkeit and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Otherwise, there was no such thing. It wasn't part of the experience growing up. Again, I'm not blaming them. They were also, that's how they were raised, and it's just how it was. Not to speak individually, to speak privately. Yeah, it wasn't part of the way things, it wasn't how things were then. Even a Rebbe of mine I had when I was older was a very, very great tzaddik, and a huge guy in a tzaddik. So I wrote him a long letter. I was in Israel, he was here, and I wrote him a long letter describing some things that I was struggling with and so on. And the response was very, very beautiful. It had Torah in it and all kinds of words of love, and he's davening for me, but it didn't open up any kind of a dialogue or a conversation. It's very, very. I've been looking for the last I don't know what I did with that letter. It's such a special thing. I must have put it into a safe. I don't know what it is. It's a collector's item, and it did give me tremendous chizuk because of his expression of caring. But I don't feel that he responded at all to what I was writing in the letter. Well, not even one nakuda that I actually had raised. The letter was being addressed, but it was in a very personal way that I wrote, and I was bringing myself to do that. It wasn't so pashut either. And I wrote it in Lashon HaKodesh, but it wasn't a common thing to be open and honest about your feelings. It wasn't something that was common. So separating from those words and not being able to be open and honest with your words is like being separated from your mother. It's not a good thing. I feel enough even if you fall Khalil into a terrible way. As long as you keep on talking, your words will not allow you to forget Hashem. That's what he says. Hashem gave us this ability through our words. Even if you feel that the words are not honest or not authentic or hollow or shallow, but the diburim do not allow a person to become separated.
Is Rabbi Nachman, is he telling us here that really in Mitzrayim we had the ability to talk even though we were in that type of galus, or was that something different?
So he doesn't mention here galus or galus Mitzrayim. He doesn't mention it here. The words are there even in Mitzrayim, and the Sfarim talk about that. The Oisius being in Mitzrayim. That's why we began Sefer Shmos with Eilish Shmos Bnei Yisrael Haboy Mitzrayim. So the Oisius of the names and the words are there, but we were so tziklat and sahakt and broken that we weren't able to draw them out, to draw those words. The oases of the neshama were there, but we couldn't draw them out. So even in the words Golas begins with Eilish Shmos Bnei Yisrael Haboy Mitzrayim, which means the shemus are there, the oases are there.
Possible.
Yeah, the possibility is always there, but it's very, very hidden. It's very hidden. It's very hard when you're in a difficult place of Golas. It's very hard. I want you to understand the great power of speaking. For Eitz Nefla, V'Neira, L'Misha Chafetz Be'emes, V'Val Yoivad Eilamon Agamri Chasasham. And it's a wondrous Eitz, an awesome Nefla of Neira for a person Shechavitz Be'emes, who really, really wants L'Val Yoivad Eilamon, not to lose Chalila, not to lose his world, this world, and the other world. It's an Eitz and a flow of an era. So on page Samachay, the Mechaber begins to explain. As in each of these Torahs, there's a short explanation, very practical, of what this is. But Pashtus, Muva kan Eitz and Nefla v'Yoser. On a very simple level, Rabbi Nachman is revealing to us a wondrous Eitza. She'odam yachzik atzmo tomed b'koach hadibur. The person can always hold on, and can be mechazik himself with the koach hadibur. Again, because that's the etzem of what a human being is, the ability to speak. That the neshama and the guf are able to join together, and that one is able to articulate thoughts and feelings that no animal can do that. To articulate thoughts and feelings, it's the definition of what a human being is. The person's a medaber. And naturally, the instinct of a person is that when you're in a bad situation, you don't feel like davening, you don't feel like speaking, you don't feel like learning. That's the first reaction that a person who's going through a difficult thing is not to daven and not to learn. But if a person is, like he said at the last sentence, but if you still care about having a life that's true in this world and beyond this world, then you force yourself to speak. So words of tefillah, words of Torah, again, to talk to a person that you can talk to. Because there's nothing as powerful as words, as speech. To be a ma'ira person, not to forget Hashem's Baruch. Hashem's Baruch is Nishmas Yisrael b'chadei legalos malchus Yisbarach. The whole reason we were created was to speak about Hashem. Amzu yatzarti li tihilasi yisaperu, it says in Pasuk. I formed this nation, tihilasi yisaperu, tihilas Hashem yidaber. To be able to speak about Malchus Hashem, to talk about Kadosh Baruch. Amzu yatzarti li tihilasi yisaperu. That's the whole mitzias of Klal Yisrael, to be Megala Malchus Hashem, to speak. Zayde koach hadibur de kedusha. Oberfrat dibure vidui dvarim, and especially to be honest and to admit one's faults and also one's kaiches, to be open, to be honest. Vidui dvarim. Ke dibur bechinas hashchina. Dibur is Malchus. Malchus is the Shechina. Like the Malchus, like the Shechina is medaberes mitoch groina shel Moshe. The Shechina is speaking through the mouth of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's not only Moshe Rabbeinu's mouth. Malchus is the final sphere, and that means Knesset Yisrael means that Shras HaShechina. Which is why Rav Hutner explains in Pacha Yitzchak that we see that since Pesach is the time of Zachartel Chesed L'Rayach HaHavas Kol Asach Lechtech Achar B'Midbar, of Shir Hashem, of Chassan and Kala. That's Pesach, Chassan and Kala. So Chazal tells that there are Asara Kavim of speech in the world. There are 10 portions of speech, and women have taken 9 of them, which the silly people think means that women talk a lot. There are men that talk more. There are plenty of men that talk more than women. The meaning of Malchus, of the Shechina, is the Koach HaDibur. Is the Koach HaDibur. And the way Rav Hutner explains is that for years, all those years that we were in Golus, we weren't speaking to Hashem. The Kala was silent. So when you're finally able to speak what's on your heart, what you really, really feel, so the words come rushing out like a flood. That's Pesach night. The words like you can't not talk. You were forced to be silent. There was a silence. There was a Golus. And you couldn't speak to that person. And now you're finally free, and you could express yourself. So the words come out like mamash, like a flood. That's the meaning of the Tisha Kavim, that a woman has 9 portions of speech, because the woman is the bechina of the Kala, of Malchus, of the Shechina. And when the Shechina is silenced in this world, it's very, very painful. Because the Kala wants to be able to express her caring, her love. And when she's unable to, so that's Golus, and finally when that Golus is over, so the words come out. There's a ribui of Klamar B'Lesaper, Areza Meshubach, that's Pesach night. There's a lot of talking Pesach night. Ki adibur b'chinas hashchina. The night of Pesach is Zug Gilu Shechina. Moira Gadol is Gilu Shechina. The night of Pesach in Mitzrayim is a Gilu Shechina. For a long time, we weren't able to talk, to be ourselves, to daven, to say what we're thinking, to say what we're feeling. I mean, Eved can't do that. An Eved can't speak about what's on his mind. If he's with somebody else, maybe if they don't get caught. Shelech is Talmid Yisrael. And the Shechina, of course, is the mother. And the Shechina, the mother, goes with us everywhere. That's the Shechina. B'soich Tumasa. It says in Pasuk that even in the worst Tumah, the Shechina goes with us. Imay Nochi B'tzara. Ashaychen, the Shechina is Ashaychen itam b'soich tumas. Even in the biggest tomb, the Shechina goes. Just a lachti b'soich. That's the Shechina, that's the mother. That's Dibur. So Dibur, Shechina, the mother, they're with you always. Therefore, therefore, when a person speaks bepashtus, not just to mumble words, Asher Yeshve V'secha and Yishtabach, without thinking, but when you speak bepashtus in a very, very simple way, as we were learning Arichas during the time about his Baidadas. Yochel Esakin HaShechina, it could bring a tremendous tikkun to the Shechina, which is the koach of Dibur, which is Malchus, and to be Megala Kvod Malchus. Yochel Esakin HaShechina Ulahalis Oira Migalusa, and to bring the or of the Shechina out of Galus by speaking. The Kabul Shefa Ruach HaKodesh, and to draw upon oneself through the Shechina being able to speak, a person becomes elevated. And from his own mouth there comes words of Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh doesn't mean that he predicts the future. I mean, the Ruach of Kedusha begins to pour out words, feelings and thoughts that he didn't even know that he had. They were locked up for so long. There's a Shefa of Ruach HaKodesh. We know sometimes it seems that your words are not being poil anything, that your words don't have any effect, and that the words are not rising, and the words are not being heard. You keep on talking. You try again the pashtus. In addition to this very simple and powerful eitzah, there's another very, very important eitzah, an eitzah klolis, a general eitzah, when it comes to ischaskus. That we're learning from Rabbi Nachman. Meshiv Nafshi, which is a thread that runs throughout this sefer that we're learning Meshiv Nafshi. Ki gam achrei she'adam lo made v'yadeya es kol darchei hischaskus, even after you learn this entire sefer, and through learning this sefer, you are able to know all of the different strategies of hischaskus. You become an expert in the ways of hischaskus. And now you are already certain. And you feel very, very clear that Hashem is with you everywhere. Mispar imo, the biggest chaskus, that Hashem is proud of you despite everything, and takes pride in you. And you've also learned to accept and to believe very strongly that the biggest nachas that Hashem has is davka from those who are far away and who pull themselves back to Hashem. That they renew their relationship with Hashem, that that's the biggest, all the good stuff. You already have become very, very well educated in all of the ways of Hischaskus. Sharida Tachlis Aliyah, like we were learning earlier, that the Yerida is Tachlis Aliyah, that was the last Torah, a few times we were learning. And we'll see more about that the Yerida is for the purpose of Aliyah. Hashem is with you everywhere, and Tafkir by the Yerida, the worst Yerida, he's there, and so on and so forth, it's Tachlis Aliyah. And to be mamtik the dinim, and so on. Sheirida tachlis eliyah, v'chol zos. Nevertheless, with all of this knowledge that we have, b'shas nisayin. Nevertheless, the reality is that when you're going through a nisayin, a yerida, a zman shel chashkas, a time of darkness. It's, you usually don't remember this stuff. All of the good stuff, and all all of the topics of the Sefer. When you're in an actual state of darkness, you don't, and you're tested like, well, didn't you just learn the whole Meshiv Nafshi? So let's review. The mind is blank because you're in a place of Chayshach, and you might be able to pull out a couple of. It doesn't depend on memory. It's because the darkness that you're in is machshech u'malim. It's a hestapon. It takes away that. Takes away all of this chaskas. And you can't remember. And at that moment, when you're going through a terrible chayshach, a terrible yerida, you have no Indian you're not mesugel to remember in your to remember how to mischazik in this matzah that you're in. Now, even though you might intellectually be able to spit back some of the limudim, yeah, I know, like that's how people talk in there. I know. You read this tachlis aliyah. I know that Hashem is imi, v'etzli, v'iti, b'chol makom, b'chol zman. I know. Adayin enani yochel lahavin ech ze nogei lov. You still don't feel, you don't see how this is nogei to you and your life and your matzah. This is maybe for somebody else, but it's not for you and your life. It seems like at that time this is all about other people. Everybody knows that this is true. That's how it is when you're in a hestapon. That's how it is. It seems like it's not about you. So therefore, this simon, after we already started the sefer, we've already learned 20 simanim of his chaskas. This simon is here with an Eitza Klalis. Now you might say, no, I'm not going to remember this either. This is different. Yesh b'simon ze Eitza Klalis, ech lekam l'maise es klal limudei es chaskas hamazgal l'mesefer zeh. See, all the other things that bring to us chaskas require thought and contemplation on some level. But thoughts, meditation, contemplation don't necessarily go with you everywhere. They don't travel necessarily with you. Because right now, if you're in a place where your mind is numb, your thoughts are not there with you. Even though you might be able to recall things that you learned, but those thoughts are not with you. You left them at home. You left them in the Beis Medrash. You left them in the Sefer. They're not with you. Machshavas don't travel with you necessarily. But one thing that travels with you everywhere, V'hu is galus koach hadibur. Is galus koach hadibur. Just to begin to talk. The daber b'peh, to talk to a good friend about how miserable you are, about what it is in life that you're going through. To talk to a brother or sister, to talk to Hashem Yisborach. Koach hadibur. The daber b'peh molei is divrei v'limudei es chaskas. So your mind not be there at all. You don't feel it. Your heart is not there at all. But the words, with very, very little effort, one can begin to talk. That's the amazing koach of therapy. Again, you could have as many people have, some horrible therapist that messes your whole life up. There's no shortage of killer therapists. But when you have a good therapist, and a person who's able to draw out diburim, because that's really what the therapy is about, drawing out, helping you with your diburim. Helping you in a healthy way, helping you with diburim. So you're able to through those words to be able to come back to yourself, even if the therapist doesn't have any necessarily gewaldige aids. Through the diburim themselves, you come back from galus. To talk to a good friend. I'm Rabbo, teacher, Divrei Chaskas. Like they say, you kabel, and it's just naturally to talk about what's on your mind and about trying to mechazik yourself, whatever. But like they say, you kabel limud es chaskus haroi, that will open you up to all these limudim that we're learning. Over shichayos, and you'll be able to get your chiyas back. You'll be able to come back to life, get your chiyas back. Kedibur yesh lakoach gadol oiros adam, l'inyan sheretz l'sarabo, because there's nothing like the koach of dibur that can be moira a person who still wants to have his errors, who still cares about it. Obviously, if you don't care, you walk away. Even when that inyan on its own is not shining in you, it's not strong in you. But by beginning to talk, you're able to come back to that. Bottom of the page. The next page, just like we learned when it comes to Esbaidus, it's not enough to think about these things, you have to articulate them. You have to speak. It's not enough to think. You have to talk. We'll have to say, all right, you know everything Hashem. No, you have to speak it, to talk. In a very clear way. And this will bear fruit of true chaskas. Wait to explain this in a very simple way. The same way that we're learning about this in the Sefer, in Meshiv Nafshi, we should be marbe diburim to Hashem, to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu that all of these ages that we're learning, that they should find a place in my heart. I was ask Hashem to help me with these ages, to talk about the ages that we've been learning, all the ages of His chaskas. And to Yifrad Peprotis says, Dibus chaskas, to Rebbeinu Shalom, Tainli lachshav kach v'kach, K'may shekosov. I've been learning about Yerid Tzarach Aliyah. I don't know what that means. I don't feel that. It's supposed to be that from this lowest place that I'm in, I'm supposed to be able to come to a much higher place than I was to begin with. I don't know how to do that. And I'm talking to Bershon, explain to me. Open up my heart that I should be able to understand this. I should feel this, that this Yerida should become an Aliyah. Tainli lohavin, eich limud zemes kasher elai. Hashem, help me to understand. I learned about it, but I don't know how it applies to me. Tainli lohavin, eich limud zemes kasher elai. Help me to understand. How does this limud apply to me? How is it talking to me? And how is it shaykh to what I'm going through? Not just something interesting that I read in a sefer that I can say over in a shir. How does it to me? So you daven for that. Whenever a person falls into a place, Chalila, of Tsar and Agmas Nefesh, you have to scream out to Hashem, please remind me, help me to remember the eschaskus that I've learned in the past, and help me to use the eschaskus, and to believe in the eschaskus, and to say words that I've learned. And I should be able to use the way of eschaskus that's shaykh to my heart right now in my life, in this matzav that I'm in. The eschaskus that I need, I should be able to find those words. I should be able to have the eschaskus that I need. You daven for it. As we learned when we were learning the sugi of his Baidus, I will remember my niggin in the night and speak with my heart and to search through my soul, my spirit, to come with these words. This is explained in like the sister volume of Meshiv Nafshi, of Meshiv Nafshi rather, is Hishtapchus Nefesh, which is it's just about the whole sefer is about davening. Meshiv Nafshi is Chazkus, and Hishtapchus Nefesh is Tefillah. Shemati b'shem Rabbeinu Zal. Shomer l'kam anoshim acher machmish haguf shlachem of ma'od. I heard in the name of Rabbi Nachman that he was explaining to some people that since your guf is very, very coarse, it's very thick, the body, your physical taivas and so on are very thick and coarse, chazuk with taivas, and you're very strong, your body is very strong with taivas, with desires. Al-kain tzvichem atem lahalid oisai, therefore you have to stuff, like it says by Esav, haliteyuna, you have to fatten. Oisai b'diburim kedoshim. He was telling these people, listen, you're very fat people. He didn't mean to say that you're fat with taivas. You're very fat with this world. The only way you can get out of that is by stuffing yourselves with words of tefillah, with the words of his brothers. You have to munch on a lot of diburim of Torah and tefillah. Your guf is very fat. It could be the person was skinny. That's not the point. It means you're very overweight. You're heavy with this world. You need to chew on good words of Torah and Tefillah, to eat words of Torah and Tefillah. Minyan tachlis, words about minyan tachlis. Why am I in this world? What's the point of my being in this world? To talk about it. Memela, moving shetzrichim b'daber gam kenim atzma diburim kedoshim minyan ischaskas. To speak with oneself, not to become chalila, to become weak and to lose yourself. To fresh on diburim, on diburei tefillah, diburei Torah, diburim honest words, words that are emistic words, and so on. To speak a lot. The Dovna said, guard my soul because I'm a chosid. The Dovna was teaching us how to speak. That we should also talk that way and say to Hashem, Shoma nafshi ki chosid ani. Like we see in the davening. We're your children, to say words of his chazkes to oneself. To remind yourself of who you are and who we are. And from all of this we learn how careful a person has to be not to say words of Yeush. How dangerous, as powerful as positive words are, negative words are terribly, the speech is very powerful. And if you say bad words, words of I can't, it's finished, I'm done, even if you feel that way, don't say it. Don't talk that way. Words of Yeush and Shiv and Lev. Even if you don't really feel it deep in your heart, don't say negative words. It's part of your conversation with Hashem. You can say, I feel this way, and talk about it, but don't define yourself with words that are negative. People are very careless with this. Because it's very, very powerful. Words are very powerful. To always speak words of eschazkus to yourself, to other people. To repeat over and over. Even if you don't feel it and you don't mean it. One of the tzaddikim explains what does it mean to Makalavari b'sever panim yafas. Right? It means that when you see another person, you should smile. B'sever panim yafas, right? What does it mean savor panim? What does it mean savor? Now, usually the word savor is a svara. Svara means, how do you translate svara? A thought, right? So the tzaddikim say, savor panim yafas means that even if you don't feel like smiling at all, make a face that person thinks that you're smiling. Even inside of you, you don't feel like smiling. Savor panim yafas, let the other person have a svara that you have panim yafas. Sefer Panim B'Office. Not a Svar. Because that could change that person's entire day. And yours. Sefer Panim B'Office. Even though you don't feel like it. It's a Svar like that. Sefer Panim B'Office. Achaim v'amavis, we had a lashon, because life and death are in the hands of one's tongue, of one's words. The Maisa, yesh kol gadol b'dibur lo'eres adam, gam in nitzav makom chashuv ma'od. Dibur is very powerful to be a moira person, even if you're in a dark place. L'chein tzarich l'daber harbe dibur Torah tefillah b'chol matzav. Therefore, you have to speak lots of words of Torah tefillah, whatever the matzav is. K'meichen kol mi sheroitz l'schazik b'emes tzarich liras l'daber b'firvis. Dibur is chazkas b'sichim chaveim, to say positive words, words of dibur. Schaskas and so on, and Hashem Yisbarach with your friends, with Hashem Yisbarach, was Eitzah Tifal Ma'oid as Pu'ulasa. And then you will see that it's an unbelievably powerful Eitzah to take you out of that difficult place that you're in. Hashem Yisbarach.